was 2010, and it was time for SAP to change. And we looked at our business. We were pretty proud of our company. We were the #1 business software and analytics company in the world, and we were participating in a very large addressable market, $110 billion addressable market. And we were the leader. And it would have been easy at that time, becoming CEO, to sit back and say, how do we do what we've already done better? But instead, we said we have to change. And we have to have a vision that will endure the test of time. And at that moment, we determined ourselves to help the world run better and improve people's lives. And in order to do that, we had a platform of enormous opportunity, yet at the same time, tremendous change. On one hand, we saw data doubling in the world every 12 to 18 months, caused by the Internet of Things, the explosion of devices and sensors, and everything happening all at once. And we realized at that moment that would be a huge opportunity to focus on a new type of database. That the 20th century disk-based database was no longer capable of keeping up with tomorrow's challenges and opportunities. So we determined ourselves to not only invent, but also bring HANA to market. And the power of HANA is really simple. You have one single sign-on database for all of the transactions, all of the unstructured information, such as social, in an enterprise, with infinite scale. So that was opportunity and delivery #1. The second thing was mobile itself. The millennial generation was the only generation ever born into the mobile device. Combined with the young generation, there was always the eye on the emerging markets, especially in Asia, where there was an opportunity now with an emerging middle class to capture several billion people in our strategy. And we decided that we would be device agnostic, that we would have a mobile platform that would secure those devices, whichever device you choose, and you would build applications on that platform to help you run your business better. And that was an effort then to become a B2B2C company, business to consumer. At that time, it was within the first 100 days of 2010, we made a move to buy Sybase. And by buying Sybase, we not only acquired the #1 unwired platform, but at the same time, we acquired a couple of thousand engineers to pursue our HANA ambition. So now we had database and mobility, two brand new markets we hadn't previously participated in. The third move was the cloud. It was very clear at that time that the CIO had to contend with the line of business executive. Could be the head of procurement, could be the head of HR, could be the head of sales. They were all buying their own cloud-based application. So no longer was this integration or this enterprise coherence what it once was. In 2010, SAP had less than $10 million in business in the cloud. We decided to do something about that. We bought the #1 human capital management system in the cloud, SuccessFactors. Shortly thereafter, we bought the #1 procurement application in the cloud with Ariba. And we also moved the core ERP of SAP to the cloud, where now small, medium, and large customers alike could run their entire company in the cloud, whether that was a public cloud or a private cloud or a hybrid cloud. Today, SAP has more than 70 million users in the cloud, more than any other software company in the world. So that was the third thing. The fourth thing was we had a product that worked. Our software worked. It scaled. It was run in 188 countries in 29 distinctly different industries by the best companies in the world. But it wasn't easy to use. And in this new economy, the consumerization of IT demands that the experience a person has in the office on Monday morning has to match the consumer-grade user experience they have in their couch on Saturday afternoon. It has to be easy, it has to be beautiful, it has to be helpful. They have to feel passionate about using the software so it makes their life easier. Therefore, we committed to essentially rewriting the user experience to give the user an HTML5 consumer-grade mobile experience on everything we built. We call that Fiori. The fifth big move was this concept of the business network. Let me explain. Today, every business in here, whether it's a public sector entity or a private sector entity, is thinking global. We are in a global world. I have a conversation an hour ago. That conversation's already published on the internet, and everybody already knows specifically what took place in this beautiful location today as it relates to SAP. You have the same situation in your business. You have to master this global economy. But you also have to think about not only how you digitize your business, but how you digitize the exchange between your business and other businesses. We call this the business network. To put this into context for you, if you take Amazon, Alibaba, and eBay, and you combine all three of them, SAP's business network business is 2 times the size of all three of them combined. Sadly, most customers don't even know we're in that business. That's why I come to meetings like this. So, let me give you a few illustrations. Today, you buy a lot of materials, mostly indirect materials, to run your business. Wouldn't it be interesting, instead of thinking about your current supplier set, which perhaps might be in your country, it could be in Europe, and maybe to some extent it is global, but you probably have 1,000 participants in your supplier network. In the SAP Ariba network, there is 1.7 million participants. By definition, in any business school in the world, we all know the fiercer the competition for your money, the better price you get. So, by participating in this indirect materials procure-to-pay network, no more POs, no more checks. All the financing is rationalized and managed by the network, totally secure, and the best businesses around the world are running on it. 1.7 million companies in the network. Today we have $700 billion US in that network in commerce, so it scales. The second thing is labor. The fastest growing workforce in the world is temporary labor, contract labor, contingent labor. If you look at almost any company today, about 20% of their workforce is tied up in temporary labor. Sometimes it's to manage a very important project, so you have to staff the project. You have to recruit these individuals. You will often get them from various parts of the world. You have to make sure that you understand who they are, so the security protocols are followed, because they'll be working side by side with your employees. And you need to understand the financial implications of bringing them on to manage a project. And as the CEO, I'm sure you would expect that you have full financial visibility into not only how much your workforce costs you, but also how much this contingent or temporary workforce is costing you. I'm always fascinated by CEOs that announce manpower actions. Perhaps it's right sizing, it's consolidation, it's lifting and shifting assets to different parts of the world to capitalize on growth. But at the same time, when I ask them, how's your temporary workforce doing? They look at me as if I just told them a riddle. So that's why we bought Fieldglass, because it is the world's leading temporary labor business network, and it solves that problem for you. But even more important, I told you about success factors earlier. Think about human capital management being managed in the cloud. So all the things around HR. How do I recruit my people? How do I train my people? How do I manage my people? How do I rate them? How do I give them raises? How do I tie them into the strategy of the company? And now, how do I do that also with my temporary labor? Imagine all of this happening in the cloud, payroll all over the world, not just a couple of places, and now I have my permanent and my temporary workers all in the same cloud. That's why best-of-breed companies in this space of human capital management just got a whole lot less relevant than they were a year ago. Very important. The third thing, who in here is already a little nervous about the disaster that's going to happen when you get back from this trip? Let me explain. You're going to have a great experience. You're going to travel. Some of you came here by ground from Milano, as an example. Others flew here. You're going to stay in a hotel. You are going to eat some food, probably drink something. And all of this has to be reconciled in an expense report. How many of you, by a show of hands, are looking forward to doing your expense report? Not a single one. And you know why? Because the expense report process is a disaster. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants to do it. So, one day, I'm in Seattle. I get off the plane, and I have this millennial generation person with me on my way to visit Concur. They're the travel and expense market leader in the cloud, and they manage this all in an open business network. And I knew we had to buy that company when this young person said to me, Bill, the expense reporting process is so painful, I would take a pay cut if I never had to do it again. As soon as I heard that, I said, we must buy Concur, because every company all over the world feels the same way. So imagine this. Your ground transportation, there's a network of ground transporters, Uber and others that are global. Your hotel, the CFO sets a threshold for the types of hotels that you can stay in and the rates based on your grade level in the company. But why shouldn't you make people happier? And if the internet is an efficient network and they can get a better price and stay in a better room, wouldn't you want them to do that? Happy people are more productive people. And then, as it relates to flying, wouldn't you want your people to get the aisle seat if that's what they like? And if the flight changed or the plane was sent to a different gate, wouldn't you appreciate it if they had the device and it was enabled with geospatial technology, and the carrier knew exactly where they were. So when the gate changed, instead of having to look at the TV in the airport or listen to somebody scream on the loudspeaker, they got an immediate notification on their cell phone. And they didn't have to get a second notification because the carrier knew when they were geospatially located at the right terminal, at the right gate. So no more annoyances. And oh, by the way, when it comes to food and entertainment, wouldn't it be nice if the system was asking the business traveler the right question? Like, are you drinking that coffee on your own personal time, or are you in a business meeting? So instead of things showing up on the expense report that shouldn't, people have to think about these decisions. And best of all, they don't have to stroke this in with their hands. They can use voice character recognition and simply dictate things into the system. It automatically gets updated in the ERP system back at your office without any expense report. Why is that important? A couple reasons. One, you'll take a lot of cost out of your cost base by doing things much more simple. You'll be dealing with an efficient network where the consumer, in this case your employee, gets a better service and more value, but the business gets not just a lower cost, but real-time transparency, real-time cost management, as opposed to everyone waiting to December 31st to put in their expense reports because they hate it so much, and they know that's the last date that the CFO will pay off. And how much productivity is wasted. So this is Concur, and this is in the business network. And all those efficiencies with ground, air, hotel, food, and entertainment are built into this network profile. So I think also about one other aspect of this real-time world. And I'm going to talk about customer relationship management. There was some time ago where companies like Salesforce.com mattered because they can give you a simple Salesforce automation tool, cloud-based, reasonable in terms of price, I guess. You could look at pipeline and forecast. The sales director knew what was going on, and you didn't have to invest in the infrastructure. It was in the cloud. And that served a purpose for a while. But here's what's happened. Here's the big change. Today, I meet with any one of you. I know from my own boardroom and others. So I'll tell you a story about another boardroom. Anybody ever hear of a company called Under Armour? Under Armour is a sports apparel business. In 2005, they hadn't even gone public yet. Today, they're a $4 billion company run rate, and they have a market cap more than $16 billion, and that's even bigger than Adidas. And they're only getting started. But let me tell you a story about Under Armour. It's no longer just about internal SFA. What's my pipeline? What's my forecast? Does the sales director have peace of mind? That's easy. We have that, so do a lot of other people. Commodity. That's commodity. Get a better price. It's commodity. If it's commodity, get a better price. The new idea is omni-channel e-commerce. We call this customer engagement commerce. This has changed the world fundamentally. Why? Because the consumer is on this. In Africa, they would rather miss a meal than not have one of these. The millennial generation, 80% say they would rather lose their car for a year than their device for a day. Think about it. So, this consumer is social, and they're going to be in all these social networks. You need to know what they like and what they're doing in these social networks. All of this information can be immediately downloaded to HANA, real time, number one. Number two, this consumer is going to buy things on the internet, direct to consumer. Other times they'll go into a call center. Sometimes they'll go into a wholesaler or even a retailer. But they always have the same DNA. And businesses that choose not to invest in knowing that consumer on any device, in any channel, will lose. There is no way you will not lose if you do not have customer engagement commerce nailed down in your companies in the next 24 months. So, I kindly ask you to please consider how we rethink customer engagement commerce as the value end part of CRM, and we completely commoditize Salesforce automation in the back office. If we can do that, and we can manage our people, human capital management, on the cloud, including temporary workers, we've taken two of the biggest chunks of complexity in the cloud today and mastered it. I finally leave you with this thought, and then we're going to do Q&A. In New York City, about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we launched S4 HANA. You might remember SAP being pretty well known for R3. Well, S is next generation after R. 4 is next generation after 3. And HANA is now natively integrated into the business suite of SAP. So, ladies and gentlemen, you no longer need to have databases all over your company, where more than 90% of the data in those little data silos never gets analyzed. I call this dark data. You no longer need to have, listen to this, 50 separate applications for every 1 billion euro in revenue. You don't need that anymore, because now you have a fully integrated business suite, everything from supply chain and manufacturing and finance. You can run your human capital management, you can run your customer engagement commerce, you can run your business network in the cloud. Incidentally, remember this, anything that's run in the cloud or built for the cloud can also run in your own data center. But mostly, these will be in hybrid environments. But when we designed S4 HANA, we also basically said, we got to make it really easy for our very loyal customers to move to the new world. We call this innovation without disruption. So what we basically did is we took care of the code base by carrying it forward and taking all the complexity out of it. We didn't take away the features, we didn't take away the know-how and the abilities. We simply took away the complexity. We gave you a beautiful user experience, and we integrated everything on SAP HANA. SAP HANA will be the de facto standard in-memory database for the worldwide global economy. It's already the fastest selling product in the history of software. It's already stealing market share from everybody in the world. And it's already now too late for the competition to deny it. They now have to acknowledge it, because they're now saying they have to be in memory too. Unfortunately for them, because we had a clean sheet design, we didn't just take a disk and put a fast sidecar next to it. We gave you real-time, fully integrated, and built the whole business suite on top of it. So I think we could take out about 50% of the hardware cost. I think we could radically simplify the IT environment. And I think we can make your businesses real-time, networked, and simple. On April 1st, we'll launch the biggest ad campaign in the history of SAP. It'll be called Run Simple, because Run Simple takes everything I had to say today. One database, one fully integrated suite of applications built on that database, a breathtaking consumer-grade user experience, cloud applications that complement your core, and a business network that manages digital commerce between companies, and it brings it to the world in a beautiful, simple way called Run Simple. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.